Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1166, and today's date is December 30th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Now, before I get started, I just want to make two announcements here. I want to wish everyone a happy, healthy New Year's. My second announcement is on Saturday. I will be uploading an interview with Bill Holter. It will be on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. Should be up by 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can go right over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight. You'll see the interview there. Or you can come over to the X22Report.com site. The interview will be on the right-hand side. So all you have to do is scroll down a little bit, look over to the right-hand side. You'll see the interview there. Or go to newssentinel.com. Same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side. You'll see the interview there. If you are on the email alert system, you will receive an email in the morning. Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Well, looking at the market today, it looks like they did not push the market over 20,000 points. And looks like I'm a little off on my timing. This happened before, where I said the unemployment was going to come down, and a couple days later, it did. But that's not the point of it. The point is that Obama is not going to leave office without the Dow hitting 20,000 points, because he wants everyone to understand, the central bankers want everyone to understand, that the economy is doing well. I mean, look what happened right before the elections. I mean, the day before, I really thought they weren't going to bring down the unemployment and the GDP wasn't going to shoot up, and all of a sudden the unemployment came down by 0.1%. And then right after the election, they really dropped it. So what we're seeing here, this is going to be a huge buildup. And it looks like maybe 2-3 days, maybe the day after New Year's, when the market comes back online, that all of a sudden we'll see this surge of the market going to 20,000 points. We'll have to wait and see. But I know there's no way that Obama is going to leave office until the market hits 20,000 points. He wants this to happen. We also see that the economy is deteriorating, and we actually have a pretty darn good sign here, because we see that the Apple iPhone, they cut production January, March of 2016 and by 10%, and going into 2017 they're going to be cutting it another 20% because the sales are not there. Sales are sluggish, and we're starting to get many indicators all over the place that businesses aren't doing as well as the corporate media wants us to believe. They're not doing as well as the Fed wants us to believe, not doing as well as Obama wants us to believe. And we see many different signs that this economy is rapidly falling apart, and there are black swans just sitting out there, just waiting for the right moment to go off and bring this entire system down. And this is what the central bankers, this is what they're fighting against. They don't want this to happen. They want to be in control of what's going on. And when we look out in Italy, we see Monte dei Paschi. That bank is in a huge amount of trouble. And investors, they're staying away from it. But what we do see is the government, the Italian government, is going to step in. And they're going to guarantee the debt issuance that Monte Paschi is going to do. And they're going to issue about 15 billion euros in debt. And the government is going to give like a blanket guarantee that this issuance is solid. So we have an insolvent bank where the government is guaranteeing the debt issuance, and we'll have to see if this actually works out. Most likely it will, because we can see that all they're doing is putting Band-Aid fixes on all of these banks, just trying to hold them together. And eventually what's going to happen, just like it happened in 2008, one time it's not going to work and the whole thing's going to fall apart. And they understand that this will happen eventually. We understand that the central bankers, the elite, they are cracking down on free speech everywhere in the world. I mean, first we saw it here in the United States, and of course they're blaming all this fake news, and this is why I lost the elections. It's amazing how they blame everyone else for why they lost the elections. Maybe the people didn't want them in office, but they don't believe that. We see in Germany, Angela Merkel, she's fining social media sites. She wants to ban stories. And we see this spreading now to Italy. It's Italy's turn to call for the end of fake news. And what we're seeing right now is Matteo Renzi, the former prime minister, he's also complaining that fake news contributed to his defeat in the December referendum. And it's looking like that Italy wants to crack down on fake news. Basically, anyone that contradicts what the central bank, what the government is saying, they want it completely stopped. This is what they're trying to do. They don't want others speaking out. And the question we have to ask is, what are they so afraid of? Why are they scared of the people making a decision? People writing about things that contradict what the government, what the central bank, what the elites say. Because that is freedom of speech. You're allowed to speak about things. You have the freedom to say, you know something, I don't agree with this, and I'm going to write about it. It's not fake. It's something that I like to write about and I like to point out. And I can point to facts. Now, these facts might not be in line with the government, and this is the problem they're having. They've lost control of the narrative. They lost control of the flow of information, and they want it back. And this is how they're trying to do it. Out in Syria, we see the Islamic State terror group. Well, they cut off the water supply to Aleppo right now. It's the main processing plant on the Euphrates. Up to this point, there's been an agreement to leave water unaffected by the war because people need the water there. The civilians need the water. But again, these are terrorist groups controlled and funded by the United States government central bankers. And they're going to do whatever they have to do to try to regain their position in Syria. And they will stoop to any level to try to beat Assad, to beat Russia in that area. Now, we understand that Obama came out with these sanctions against Russia. They came out with a report showing that Russia hacked the DNC and the election system. Now, he wants Putin to do something at this point. But we see that Putin, he doesn't operate this way. He doesn't say, okay, listen, you expelled, 35 diplomats. We're going to expel diplomats. No, Putin said, you know something? I'm not reducing myself to Obama's level. First, he knows Obama, his term is coming up. He understands that Trump is coming into the White House. He has a completely different relationship with Trump than Obama. And he's saying, you know something? We're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything to the diplomats in Russia. Now, this is not what Obama wants, of course. He wanted Putin to do something. But remember, Putin is a master of chess. Obama is playing checkers. Now, Russia's going to be sending a plane for their Russian diplomats because they have to be out of the States by January 1st. And we see right now that the United States government central bankers, they're confiscating different Russian assets in the States. There's a 45-acre site on the Eastern Shore waterfront near Centerville, which was purchased by the Soviet Union in 1972. And its ownership is not a secret. And people know that this is a Russian retreat. And the property records show that the Russian government owns 2 parcels of land on Town Point Lane, about 5 miles west of Centerville, near where the Chester River meets the Corsica River. One parcel of about 45.52 acres is valued at $8 million for tax purposes, while the other is just shy of an acre and is valued about $537. The Soviet government owned it, and then it was transferred over to the Russian Federation in 1995, and this is according to the property records. And it looks like the United States said, you know what, we're just going to confiscate this. And we can see what they're doing right now. They're provoking and pushing Russia as hard as they possibly can. WikiLeaks is out there, and they tweeted that Obama's move might be in violation of the Vienna Convention by expelling the Russian diplomats. Now, we see all over the corporate media that Obama is using this to box in Trump, to put him in a position where he'll have to do something. Now, I think Trump is going to surprise Obama, because I think he's going to say, you know something, let's drop the sanctions. Let's have a better relationship. And I think he's going to explain to Congress why all of this is fake, phony, and false. I think there's going to be a lot of truth bombs coming out, and the elite, they're not going to know what to do with this. They're just going to be stunned by what is happening here. And we can see they are trying to push World War III before Obama leaves office. Now, John McAfee is out there, and he does not believe that the Russians were behind the hacks of the DNC, John Podesta's emails, or Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. He said, I don't believe Russia's behind any of this, because he said if it looks like the Russians did it, then I can guarantee you it was not the Russians. And he went on to say that looking at the reports, which lists hundreds of IP addresses that were supposedly used by Russian civilian and military intelligence services, some of the IP addresses are from Russia, the majority are from all over the world, which means that hackers constantly fake their locations. And he comes out and says that, listen, if you are truly hacking, you're not going to do it from your own IP address. You're going to fake your location. You're not going to leave markers or have any type of information in any type of code that tracks back to you. These are professional state actors. This is not a small mom and pop hacker who's trying it for the first time. And I agree with him. It's not that simple. And if they really wanted to do it, believe me, nothing would lead back to Russia at all. Now, when we look at the evidence that the government released, which is the evidence from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, they released a 13-page report on the Russian action, which compromised the DNC and the U.S. election system. The document provides technical details regarding the tools and infrastructure used by the Russian civilian and military intelligence services, RIS. And they said that they know exactly how they did this. And the U.S. government is referring to the malicious cyber activity by RIS as Grizzly Stap. Where things get awkward, however, is that at the very start of the report, which is prefaced by a broad disclaimer according to which nothing in the report is to be relied upon, and that everything contained in it may be completely false. That's pretty much what it says. The report is provided as is for informational purposes only. The Department of Homeland Security does not provide any warranties of any kind regarding any information contained within. So they're telling us right there that it could be true, it could be false, we don't know. And we're not responsible. This is unbelievable. And this is what they're spreading around, letting everyone know that we have proof. So nowhere in the report is it actually confirmed that the hacking was done by Russia, that the hacks were instructed by the Kremlin. Nothing. Now, the U.S. government confirms that two different RIS actors participated in the intrusion into the U.S. political party. Now, we also have to remember WikiLeaks was getting the emails, and Guccifer 2.0 was also in there. So, again, what are they talking about? And they're saying that this is a phishing type of technique where the information was emailed. So again, do you really think the email is coming from Russia? I mean, is this the tactic they would actually use as a state actor? No, not at all. So when we look at this, we see that this whole thing is being done by an unsophisticated phishing attack, which, like a 15-year-old in Cambodia or any other location around the globe could do, and which shows you that they really have no idea who actually did this. And if it was truly Russia, it wouldn't be so obvious. They would make it very difficult, and it would come from all different locations, but they're trying to convince the world, just like they did with the hack in Sony, that it was North Korea. And this is why they put that disclaimer on top, because they know it's completely fake. Now, the actual words of Russia and Russian, they're only mentioned about 3 times throughout the report. Even when detailing the efforts of the 2 purported hacker groups, the report uses vague and non-committal language. For example, the actual political party allegedly hacked by the 2 groups is never identified. And when we look at this, we can see that, WikiLeaks was out there saying, we didn't get our information from Russia. Guccifer 2.0 is saying, yeah, it wasn't Russia. And we see right now that all of this still does not hold up. It makes no sense whatsoever. And again, they still have no proof, but they're waving it around. And of course, the corporate media is out there saying, yes, we have solid proof. There is no solid proof. In addition to all the different names of all the different hacking groups, they've mentioned all these different hacking names that are included in this. Cozy Bear, Fancy Bear, Cake Juke, Crouching Yeti, Energetic Beer, Old Bait, Sea Daddy. And they mentioned all these different Russian hacking groups, but never connected any of the dots. The second half of the report is focused on mitigation strategies, from backing up your data, changing your passwords, sharing with the government any type of information that you have. So really, what they're putting out here is propaganda and fake news. They have no proof once again. And that's why they put that disclaimer on top, because if they had incredible proof, they would have this nailed down tight. But they don't. It's all circumstantial evidence. And right now, they really don't have a case. And they know it. But they're going to try to push this as hard as they possibly can. We see Michael Moore is out there, and he is urging civil disobedience at Trump's inauguration. And he warns it's going to be a lot worse than you think. Now, he needs to be very careful. Now, peaceful protests, we don't have a problem with that. Every person has the right to peacefully protest against the government. The other part of starting riots on purpose and getting people, hurt, making threats to the government, well, that is a little different, because if things start to get out of hand and things start to get aggressive, like he does mention how he wants to get things going, he could be in violation of U.S. Code Section 879, because that states, whoever knowingly and willfully threatens to kill, kidnap, or inflict bodily harm upon a former president or a member of the immediate family of a former president, a member of the immediate family of the president-elect, the vice president or the vice president-elect, a major candidate for office of president or vice president, or a member of the immediate family of such candidate, a person protected by the Secret Service under Section 3056A, shall be fined under this title or in prison not more than 5 years or both. And once again, this might break out into riots. It might become very aggressive. And he needs to be very, very careful in how he proceeds. And we know that the elite, we know certain individuals, they want this to go into a full-blown riot. And we see in the month of January, we see a lot of things that could happen. Doesn't mean they're going to happen. We can see that the elite are going to try to make it happen. But we do have that meeting in Paris talking about Israel. We do have the inauguration coming up in January. We understand that Obama is trying to push a world war with Russia. And we have to see what else they're going to pull out of their bag of tricks during this period of time. Because remember, there's only a couple more weeks until the inauguration. And how are they going to play this out? Are they going to try to do something before Trump gets into office, or are they going to wait until he gets into office? We don't know. But we can see there are many indicators showing that something big is about to happen. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.